Good evening, I'm Dave Towne. This is Tornado Preparedness Week here in Iowa. This was a test day for a drill, but the drill was canceled due to severe weather that was occurring in the state. Now, the latest situation, we still have a tornado watch in effect for the extreme eastern counties of Iowa, but most of the severe weather activity has come to a halt, but we'll keep track of that situation for you tonight. In our program this evening, we'll try not to scare you, but to inform you. Tornadoes have been in this area for hundreds of thousands of years. We've only lived here for a few hundred years, so we have to put up with their effects. Now, tonight I'll be talking about the ingredients for tornadoes. There are certain ingredients involved, and we'll have other reports on safety, and we'll keep you informed of the latest weather situation. Also, Roger Evans is with us tonight. Roger's a weekend meteorologist here at Channel 2. Roger, what do you have for us?
Dave will talk to an official from the National Weather Service in Waterloo about today's early season storm, and we'll also talk to a Clayton County family who experienced the tornado firsthand and lived to tell about it.
Yes, thank you very much. Tornadoes are a definite start at this time of year. We do have the watch and some warnings in effect for our area today, but as you mentioned, the severe weather activity has tapered off. We're still getting some lightning and thunder here at Broadcast Park, and that signals the start of tornado season. One of the things that's most important to know about tornadoes is what to do in the event they happen, and if you have a good preparedness plan, that's the best thing that you can do, especially at this time of year. Kristin Dodd now joins us from a home in Cedar Rapids, and she has some details. Kristin?
That's right, Dave. We're going to take you through the steps that you should take in order to protect yourself in the event of a tornado. Now, whether you're here at home or whether you're at work, school, or church, or even if you're trapped outside in the event of a tornado, we're going to give you some advice on how you can survive. But first, we're going to go back to Dave Towne, who's cooking up a tornado in the Channel 2 kitchen.
Hello, I'm Dave Towne, and welcome to our Channel 2 TV kitchen. I've always been a big fan of the TV cooking shows with the Galloping Gourmet, the French Chef. Been amazed how they could pull out a cookbook, look at a recipe, add ingredients, and at the end of the half hour, come up with a cake. Well, Mother Nature has a cookbook. It's a cookbook of severe weather, and tonight we're going to look at one of her recipes, the Iowa tornado. Our Iowa tornado recipe is a tough one to make. Mother Nature only gets it right herself about 30 times a year. Tonight we're going to try to recreate that recipe, but only on a much smaller scale. Now, you know how it all starts. It starts off as a warm, humid day here in the state. The sun is baking down on the earth and the humidities are high. It's very similar to this candle warmer, but instead of the sun, we're using a candle to heat the earth's surface. Our next ingredient adds a sharp contrast to our recipe. It's a cold front out of Canada. But instead of a cold front, we'll use this tray of ice cubes and a fan. Another important ingredient in formation of tornadoes is warm, dry air from the southwest U.S. But instead of the warm, dry air, we'll substitute this portable electric space heater. And our final ingredient is one you can't see, feel, or taste. It's the jet stream. It's a river of air at 30,000 feet above us with winds up to 300 miles an hour. And instead of the jet stream, we'll use this portable electric fan. All of our ingredients for Iowa tornado are now here. The final factor is time. All we have to do is wait and see what, if anything, materializes. But while we wait, let's see what the Iowa tornado recipe looks like on a weather map. Here's our first step with temperatures soaring into the 70s, 80s, or 90s. Close by is our cold air from Canada in the form of a cold front. The cold air pushes into the warm air and causes it to rise. The warm, dry air shows up on the weather maps as an area of lower relative humidity. And the jet stream is found by weather balloons launched by the National Weather Service twice a day. When the National Severe Storms Forecast Center in Kansas City sees all the right ingredients for tornadoes on a weather map, they issue a tornado watch, which means conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms or tornadoes. The watch may include parts of Iowa, the whole state, and even surrounding states. If some of the tornado ingredients are weak or not present, nothing may happen. But if they're all there and the timing is right, the results can be deadly. Well, our Iowa tornado recipe is a flop. Either our ingredients were too weak or our timing was wrong. But that's the same way it is in the atmosphere above us. Most thunderstorms do not produce tornadoes. Only a few have the right stuff at the right time. And when that happens, knowing what to do could save you from a dangerous situation.
Well, Mother Nature sure seemed to have her act together tonight. Earlier today, we visited the National Weather Service in Waterloo, and we asked forecaster Charlie Francisco if today's storm marks an early start to the severe weather season here in eastern Iowa.
This is just a smidgen early, but you can look at it this way. In 1967, in January, there was one fatality in southwest Iowa from a tornado. There was 14 that day in southwest Iowa, so strange, yes, but really not that far off the board. 95 out of over 100 tornado warnings that are issued is based on a pair of these seeing it. Radar is good, but as far as tornadoes go, the Charles City tornado, radar would have likely seen it. But the tornado that hit Oldline, which was same day, it wouldn't see. The great big ones the radar sees. So when a tornado warning is issued, one of your neighbors or the spotters has seen it. Thunderstorm warnings, a little different. Radar is quite good at that, but think of it this way, is you can get winds to 150 miles an hour from a, quote, garden variety thunderstorm, and the houses around here start coming apart at somewhere around 80. And mobile homes, they don't do too good in even 60, 70 mile an hour winds, so don't ignore the darn warnings. After all, I'm going to get paid whether you do or not, but make me feel like I really earned it, so head for the basement.
Now that's very good advice. When severe weather does hit, spotters and radar are two of the most important tools used. Dave?
Now, Charlie was very busy today up at the National Weather Service in Waterloo issuing warnings for eastern Iowa, and we appreciate his service today and hope he's resting up just a bit now as the evening is progressing. When we come back, we'll show you how to prepare your home in case of a tornado, and we'll show you the many resources of the Channel 2 Weather Lab for detection of severe weather. Stay with us. We're in the Channel 2 Weather Lab right now, and you'll kind of have to excuse us. The place is a mess today. It's been quite a severe weather day here at Broadcast Park and at Channel 2, but what you see here looks pretty clean. Just scanning through the latest information. No more reports of severe weather here in eastern Iowa at the present time, but of course we'll keep you informed. Now, one of the many things we've been doing today has been watching satellite photos, watching the weather maps off to the side here. We've also been watching the National Weather Service radar up at Waterloo, Iowa. And we also have behind us here Storm Track 2, the Doppler radar from Broadcast Park and Cedar Rapids. Now, the radar is currently showing the activity is pretty much east of our region now, the heavier thunderstorm activity, and seems to be diminishing somewhat in its intensity. Now, Doppler radar may be something new to you. The Doppler radar is a new technology here to eastern Iowa and to the industry. Storm Track 2 was made right across the street here from Broadcast Park at Rockwell Collins and indicates a new technology for the area. Now, a personal note I'd like to say first, nothing today exists that detects all tornadoes. There's simply nothing made like that. Storm Track 2 is the latest in technology available to us, and it will help us see these storms a little bit better. Of course, as Charlie said from the National Weather Service a few moments ago, the eyes are the best tornado informer, and it looks like they've been doing a good job today. Now, we have an example of Storm Track 2. This was from 2 years ago, and if you look at the screen very closely up by the Waterloo area, you will see a pinkish area. That is the Doppler effect, and that Doppler effect indicates the possibility of strong winds in that area. Now, the Doppler radar is also capable of showing where other rains are at, and that's also indicated on that picture. Now, to sum up what a Doppler radar does, it looks at whether the rain is moving towards you or away from you. And if it's doing that in a close area, that indicates some circulation. Now, we have another image here. Now, this one was a tornado. There's a very, very small area of pinkish color just north of Lynn County, right around Ryan, in fact. That was a small tornado 2 years ago. It did cause damage to a motor home that was traveling up there. So not necessarily seeing a large area of pinkish color on the Doppler radar does indicate a tornado. So that's what's happened from Doppler radar today, and the radar is still quite active, and we still have that watch in effect for eastern Iowa. So that's the latest from the Weather Lab at this time. As we mentioned before, this is Tornado Preparedness Week here in Iowa. As part of the week's events, a statewide drill will be held tomorrow. Kristin Dodd now joins us with some safety tips at home or away. Kristin?
All right, thanks a lot, Dave. As you know, a tornado often strikes without too much warning, so you need to know where to go when that tornado siren sounds. Now, if you're in a public building, such as a schoolhouse or church, shopping center, or even at work, you want to go to the designated shelter areas. Usually those are indicated by some kind of sign, and if you don't find the signs, you need to ask. Also, stay away from outside walls, windows, and large rooms, such as an auditorium, malls, cafeterias, or even a church sanctuary. These actually offer the least amount of resistance to the wind. You also want to get under a table or even a counter. This will help protect you from some of the flying debris. Also, you can go to a small storeroom or to a bathroom. Now, if you're in a motel, you want to lie down in the lowest level interior hallway. You also want to stay away from the windows. And as the last resort, you want to dive underneath the bed or pull the mattress over you. Now, if you are here at home, that's actually the best place to be, because hopefully you have a designated shelter plan already in place. And that's a plan that you want to make sure the entire family is aware of. Now, the ideal place to go in your home, of course, is the basement. But if your house doesn't have a basement, the next best place is a small interior room, such as a bathroom, a closet, or even a pantry. You want to make sure you're away from the windows, next to walls that are away from the outside walls, and also a small room. That offers the best protection. You want to lie down in this room and put your hands behind your head, and that's going to offer you, once again, the most protection. Now, if you do have a basement, you are lucky, because that is the best place to be in the time of a tornado. The idea being staying underground and staying as low as possible. So that's where we're going to go next. Now, a lot of questions come to me and to our weather center as to what to do as to whether open or close the windows. Well, a lot of studies have been done in research, and actually they have shown that it doesn't matter. Actually, the time it takes for you to open or close your window when a tornado siren sounds is actually a waste of time, and you could get injured by just taking that time. So when the tornado warning is in effect, just take cover. Now, down here in the basement, you want to be next to a wall that is away from the windows. You also want to lie down on the ground and, once again, put your hands behind your head. Now, a basement doesn't always give the best protection, because sometimes the house does cave in and the rubble does fall down on you. So you want to protect yourself an extra amount by getting underneath some type of table or even a workbench or some kind of countertop, and that'll give you the most protection. Now, if your basement doesn't have a workbench, or if it doesn't have any kind of desk of that type, you want to get underneath the stairwell. This will also offer you a lot of protection and help protect you from some of the flying debris. Something else you also want to have in your basement to protect you from the debris is a blanket. It's not only going to keep you warm and dry, it's also going to protect you from some of the debris that will be flying down. You just want to cover your head and your entire body with this blanket. Also, something else you want to have down in your basement is a battery-operated flashlight. You want to check it regularly, make sure it works, of course, and this is really going to come in handy in case of a power outage. Also coming in handy is a battery-operated radio, any old radio, or better yet, a NOAA weather radio, and that's going to keep you in touch with what's happening outside. Now, you don't want to leave your shelter until the warning or danger is over. Now, coming up in a couple of minutes, we'll talk about things you can do if you're caught outside in a mobile home or if you're caught in your car. That's coming up in a couple of minutes, but first let's go back to Dave Towne.
Okay, thank you very much, Kristin, for those words of advice. If you have further questions on what to do in the case of a tornado in your area, we have two phone numbers for you to call. Here in Cedar Rapids, it's 395-7687, or if you live outside of Cedar Rapids, the number is toll-free 1-800-222-KGAN, or 5426. That spells out KGAN. When we return, we'll talk to some survivors of eastern Iowa's most recent killer tornadoes, and we'll be answering your questions about Iowa tornadoes. Stay with us. We Iowans have been fairly lucky in recent years. No, there haven't been fewer tornadoes in the state, but we seem to be better prepared for the storms that have occurred. Roger Evans joins us now with the story of a family who has firsthand knowledge of the fury of a tornado. Roger?
Surviving a tornado is a harrowing experience. In 1985, John and Linda Orr survived the Elkader tornado, but most of their farm wasn't so fortunate.
Before the 1985 Elkader tornado, John and Linda Orr's farmstead spanned nearly a quarter-mile of land. 5 minutes after the twister struck, only 3 of the 27 buildings on the farm remained standing, and all of those were damaged. Linda Orr was just putting her children to bed when the weather turned severe.
I was kind of scared, so I went in the southwest bedroom and I just tried to see what was going on with the dark. It was kind of hard, but about that time the kids were getting scared and they followed me, and the ceiling was kind of coming down in the hallway, so that kind of was the time we decided it was maybe time to go to the basement.
John Orr was driving home when the tornado hit. He nearly drove right into the twister as it crossed Highway 56.
I was on my way home from Elkader. I suppose I was 3 miles down the road, and I run right into it, and the truck just stopped, and the wind was so strong, and you could feel it rocking, and you just couldn't see anything.
The debris from the Orr farm was scattered across Clayton County.
Yeah, part of our bin that had our name on it, or my grandfather's name on it, they found over by Garnaville. It's about 20 miles from here.
Today, the Orrs are much more aware and prepared for severe weather.
You know, we're much more ready to go to the basement than we ever were before.
We hear a storm's coming, and we try to have everybody home. We don't go to town if there's a storm coming that evening.
Both John and Linda Orr agree that they and their family were very lucky despite the tremendous loss to their farm. With each succeeding year, the pain of the tornado lessens. This summer, they plan on removing some of the last damaged structures still standing on the farm. Reminders, John said, of what happened in May of 1985.
Now, John and Linda were very thankful for the tremendous help and support they received from friends, neighbors, and people they didn't even know. In fact, Mennonites from Kelowna traveled up to Elkader and assisted with the cleanup. Dave?
That was quite a storm that occurred up in that area, and it occurred at 10:30 at night, 10:30 after 10:30, which is kind of unusual for this area of Iowa, but they do happen at any time here in the state and almost in any season. Now we're asking for your phone calls here at Channel 2. The numbers are 395-7687 locally or 1-800-222-KGAN. And we also have some questions written down here. By the way, if we don't get to all these questions on our special, we will be answering these on our newscast on the Channel 2 News at 6 and at 10. Here's our first caller tonight. Good evening. You're on Channel 2.
Yeah, I was just wondering, how safe an area are you in your basement in a tornado if you're in your furnace room also? Does that furnace being there cause a problem?
Okay, generally, if you're in that small area, it's a small confined area the furnace room is usually in. That is generally a pretty good place to go. Also, anything with pipes around, the plumbing tends to make the building a little bit more strong structurally, and that would probably be a very good place to go. Thank you very much for your call. Hiding in the basement is one of the questions most often asked, and one of the questions I think Kristin mentioned was the southwest side is not really the best side to go in anymore.
Well, best thing to do if you go into a basement is try to find some structure that you can hide under, something like a large table or a workbench, because that'll provide the most protection from any debris that happens to be falling down if the tornado happens to lift your house up and then drop it back down again.
I think an important question to bring up is that you should also wrap yourself with a blanket, something like that. I have a friend that lives out of Grand Island, Nebraska. They went to the basement, covered themselves up with a blanket, and the next thing they felt was hail hitting them as the house was gone. So lots of debris when a tornado does occur. Another call, you're on Channel 2. Good evening.
Yes, could I have more information about how to identify wall clouds?
More information on how to identify wall clouds. Yes, you may. You might give us a call here at Channel 2, and I can get your name and address. We can send you out some information. I should also bring that point up. We are always available for your calls here at Channel 2, and we do have some information to hand out, and we'll show you that in just a moment. But wall clouds are a definite beginning to tornadoes and thunderstorms.
Another question?
Another question, if you live in a trailer court, where do you go? Now that's a very good question.
That's a very tough question to answer. In fact, the best thing to do is if the trailer park or court has a shelter, that would be the best place to go. Now, a trailer home is not really very safe in any kind of strong winds or tornado situation. And if your park doesn't have a place to go as a safety or shelter area, you should probably try to talk to your manager and see if they can arrange one or try to build one for you.
It's very important to be out of the path of the tornado, especially in trailer parks, and many of our trailer parks here in eastern Iowa do have those shelters designated. If you have a question about the tornadoes that we haven't touched on so far, it's probably covered in our Channel 2 brochure. You can pick up one here at Broadcast Park, or we'll send you one if you drop us a line at Post Office Box 3131, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The zip code is 52406. Coming up, what to do if you're caught outside during a tornado. So far this half hour, we've explained the importance of tornado preparedness in the home. But what if you're caught out in a storm? Kristin Dodd joins us again with some outdoor safety precautions. Kristin?
That's right, Dave. We ventured out into tonight's storm to give you some tips if you are caught outside. The question that came in about mobile homes, it is correct to go ahead and seek the designated shelter. If you don't have a shelter, though, you want to just abandon your mobile home and head for the nearest ditch or culvert. Lie face down and also put your hands behind your head, and that's going to offer you some protection. That's also the case if you are caught outside or if you're caught out in your car. You want to just abandon your car and once again head for the nearest ditch. Now, an average of 30 tornadoes rip through Iowa each year. Last year across the country, 59 deaths occurred, but actually that's not such bad news. Over the 35-year average, 90 deaths occurred, so the statistic is down. And if you follow our precautions, we're going to keep that statistic low. Dave?
Sounds like some Kristin rain is falling tonight in the northeast side of Cedar Rapids. Once again, if you have further questions, we have this brochure available to you. Write us at Box 3131 here in Cedar Rapids or give us a call here at Channel 2. Well, unfortunately, that's our show for tonight. We hope we've presented you with some better understanding of tornadoes and the destruction they can cause. And remember, in the event of severe weather, you can depend on the Channel 2 weather staff to bring you the most up-to-date information on watches and warnings in our area. Thank you for joining us, and have a safe night.